Hey everybody, welcome back to an all-new episode of H&R Movie Talk. I am HB Gibson along with
RT Mac, and this one might be a little shorter than our usual episodes, but we just wanted to give you a bit of history.
Yes.
So this episode will be about the Supreme Court case United States versus Paramount Pictures Incorporated.
Yes.
It occurred in 1948, and it named all the other major studios as co-defendants. And basically the long and short of it is that the United States won, so all of the studios had to divest themselves of their movie theater chains.
Okay, so they this is going to be kind of like almost like an interview sort of a thing, because he's very knowledgeable about this. I'm not. So you mean to tell me that these studios, these film studios, Paramount, Warner Brothers, MGM, they all owned theater chains?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, if you recall, Lowe's Incorporated owned MGM, and Marcus Lowe was a theater magnate. He acquired so many theaters, and when he wanted to get into the actual production of movie making, he bought Metro Pictures, Goldwyn Studios, and Louis B. Mayer Productions and combined them all together. So it supplied his rapidly growing theater chain with high quality feature films.
Okay.
And when Warner Brothers made a success with The Jazz Singer in 1927, the first talkie, they bought First National, which was one of the largest theater chains in the country.
Right.
Universal eventually, did the same thing, although not at first.
Right.
Paramount was the first, I think, to have a theater chain, which is why I think they were named as the primary defendants.
Right.
The other major studios like 20th Century and Fox also, this is before they combined together to create 20th Century Fox. I know William Fox himself had like a theater chain, but basically the long and short of it is that they had their own theaters, so they were able to guarantee a certain amount of profit.
Wow.
With every picture. But unfortunately, they didn't learn the lessons of Thomas Edison.
What happened?
Well, Thomas Edison, when movie making first started, and he saw that people were creating new innovations to, movie cameras, he wanted to control the whole market. So he kept suing everybody, saying, "You ripped off my patent," which really wasn't the case.
Right.
Their designs were vastly different. So he created a trust. Basically got all the major filmmakers in the United States together, and they called it the Motion Picture Patents Company. So basically, they call it the Edison Trust also. So basically, you couldn't make a movie without their approval.
Wow.
And if you tried to make a movie that wasn't approved by the trust, they would do everything they could to destroy it. So there are stories of independent filmmakers trying to film something, and all of a sudden, these random guys, just destroy their cameras, destroy their sets, just completely ruin everything. It's because of that why the future moguls of the studios would go to California. Because they wanted to get away from Edison. They wanted to have cheap land to film on, and they also wanted sunshine. So Adolph Zukor of Paramount, the Warner Brothers, Louis B. Mayer from MGM, everybody, Carl Laemmle of Universal, Uncle Carl, they all went to California. So, and actually it was thanks to Adolph Zukor and Carl Laemmle, mostly Carl Laemmle, that Edison was defeated in court. The Supreme Court ruled that his trust was an illegal monopoly.
Right.
And unfortunately, when you don't learn from your history, you repeat it.
Yes.
So the studios, when they got too powerful, they started doing the same thing. They started doing this thing called block booking. Where basically, if you were an independent theater owner that wasn't owned by the major studios, if you wanted one of their A pictures, they would force you to take a B picture with it. So it was like, you want to make some money with this good film, you got to take one of our bad films with it. and they would try to keep other studios out of certain independent theaters. They wanted to control that too.
Right.
So they were brought to court, and as I said, studios lost. It's known as the Paramount Decree, the Paramount Decision, the Consent Decree.
Right.
So basically, they were ordered by the government to sell their theater chains.
Okay. Now, what was the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890?
That basically said monopolies are illegal. Like, you can't have full control.
Right.
And the studios at that time had full control over production, distribution, and exhibition. It was a triangle, chain of control.
Oh, okay.
So you look at. Here's the thing.
Right.
Charlton Heston actually did an interview where he said that they all thought it would be an advantage to the independent theater owners. He said it actually had the opposite effect. It actually hurt theater exhibition everywhere. Some theater owners went bankrupt. Because here's the thing. While block booking may have been illegal, it guaranteed them a certain level of profit.
Right.
So even if they had to take a bad picture, supposedly, with a good one, however you market it, you could actually have two good films. So two for the price of one. You're making money.
Right.
But when everything was sold off, it was now in an open bidding market.
Yeah.
And Charlton Heston said it got chaotic.
Yeah.
It was like a bloodbath. Everybody was trying to outbid each other for that, Class A picture.
What can we learn from what happened with the Sherman Antitrust Act and everything that happened with the monopolizing and everything of the theaters and the studios?
I think the biggest thing that we can learn from this is that if you become successful, don't get hungry for more power, more than you're legally allowed to have. Because, it used to be that there were a lot of different, companies and corporations, that had control. Like, I think as recent as the 80s, there were maybe over 50.
Right.
Now, I think it's shrunk down to 6. It's shrunk down to 6. News Corp is one of them. They own Fox. You have Disney, which is their own. They're probably the last, sort of family-owned business. At least they still have the name. Disney isn't owned by anybody. Disney is Disney.
Disney is Disney, yeah.
They own people.
Right, exactly.
They own Lucasfilm. They own Marvel. They own our childhood. They own Pixar. They really own our childhood.
And from what I've seen in the news, I don't know if there's any truth to the matter, but it looks like they're even thinking about buying 21st Century Fox.
Oh, that means they would have even more control. So that's when you really, really got to look at, is this even legal?
Yeah.
You can't have one entity controlling everything.
Right.
You just can't. You can buy up certain studios. Like MGM bought United Artists in the 80s.
Yeah.
Paramount bought a Poverty Row studio called Republic Pictures.
Right.
They lasted for a good 27, 28 year run. Made some pretty good films.
Yeah.
Like I think, oh man, it was just in my head. I know they did a movie series called The Tiger Woman. Very corny. I've seen a couple of them. Her greatest, power was leaping on guys' backs to tackle them to the ground. But still, there's a charm about it.
Yeah.
And they made some really, good feature films. So when you buy that stuff, that's okay. But when you buy major studios that are still operating heavily, that's when you gotta, pump your brakes.
Right. Well, that being said, this was a very, very short episode of H&R Movie Talk. I'm HB Gibson along with
RT Mac. I'm hoping that you guys got something out of this.
Yes.
I'm hoping you learned a lot. And
don't be greedy.
Yeah.
Don't be greedy.
If any of you want to contribute anything, put it in the comment section.
Absolutely.
Comment section.
All right, so until next time, as we always say, when you're at the movie theater, please
Silence.
shut up. And don't kick my seat either. All right. See you next time in the next video.
Later.